Today we're going to be working on this guitar. So I have part 1 and the part 2 out for this one. We took the binding off in part 1 and we fixed the neck pocket in part 2. You can click a link right here and go check out them if you haven't seen them yet. So today we're going to be putting this binding back on. The reason I took it off, there was a high spot right here and I had to reroute the channel. So I rerouted the channel, cleaned it up, cleaned all the glue off this binding, and now we're going to put it back on. The neck pocket's fixed, it's ready to go. And once we get the binding on, it's basically sand it back down and repaint it. We're going to be repainting the back and the tube. Also, this is the neck, and we're going to put binding around the sides of the fretboard. Now I was going to bind the peg head, but I decided I'm not going to bind the peg head, I'm going to leave it the way it is. So we're just going to put binding, probably this white binding here, around the fretboard, way around it. So we're going to get routing a binding channel. We've got to take this nut out of here, and we'll route a binding channel on that, and hopefully get this glued in today too. Before I go ahead and glue this binding back on, there is one other thing we got to look at, and I'm going to try to hold this, and you probably ain't going to be able to see it. But anyways, right here, what it is it's not completely round. If you run your finger across there, you can feel there's a flat spot here, and it comes up to like a little ridge, and it comes back to a flat spot, and it comes into the flat spot right in here. So basically what I'm going to do is take this over to my spindle sander and sand from here to there and get it completely rounded like it is over here. If you come to this side, it's completely rounded, nice and smooth. So that's the other thing I got to fix. So we'll sand that down smooth, and then we'll come back through and naturally reroute this channel, because whenever I sand that down, I'm going to lose that channel anyways. Come back, reroute it. Once you get it rerouted, we'll be able to glue that binding back on. I sanded the side down, and now it's smooth. And then I come back through and put a routing channel back on that. And then I made sure my binding was fitting right, and it is. So now we're going to glue this on. We're going to use the same glue that I always use, this solvent cement. Now, I've shown this process before in other videos, so I might show it, I might not, we'll see. But I might show the beginning of it. But basically, you've seen it once, you've seen it. You know, there's nothing new to see, it's just gluing binding back on. So I'll get this binding glued on, and then we're going to move over and get ready to start routing the channel in for our neck. And the other thing I didn't talk about on the neck was inlays. What we're going to do with inlays. So we're going to talk about that too on the neck. So I got half of the guitar bound so far. We got taped on, glued on. We got to do the bottom half yet, and then this side. And I just stopped because I need to pull more tape off. So I just wanted to show you this. And with this pre-bent binding that I took off here, it's already pre-bent to match, so it actually goes on a lot easier. Just sets in place, so it's going on pretty quick actually. So it's looking pretty good. Everything's smooth where it should be, smooth on top. So whenever I get this done, there's not going to be a lot of sanding to do, since it's already pretty much flush with the top and flush with the sides. Just come back through, lightly sand basically the sides, back and front, and primer it is what we're going to end up doing with it. And doing a couple other things we need to do, like here, drill these holes out here. Okay, so this is done. We got it glued on, and we're going to let this set overnight, 24 hours. Let it dry completely. We'll take the tape off, and once we get the tape off, like I said, we'll just come back through, just clean up the glue, whatever we need to clean up, sand the front, the back, the sides, and get ready to put some primer on it, because it's basically done at this point, except for painting. There's a couple little things I got to do, but it's basically done, except for that. We're going to let that set. And now, I work on this neck. Now, like I said, we're going to put that white binding around the fretboard, and we're not going to bind the peg head. We got to pull this nut out. I'll show you how we're going to do that. The other thing is the dots. And basically, what I'm going to do is we're going to drill these dots out with the 5/16 drill bit. And we're going to drill them about 1/4 inch deep or so. Then we're going to come back through, and I'm going to make a, I think what I'm going to do anyways is do like an epoxy and a sand mix, and kind of do like to do with the clay dots, but do it with sand and epoxy. either that or do epoxy and add some colored stain to it and get it a different color, like a, I don't know, like a turquoise or something to that effect. But we'll drill the dots out and get the binding channel routed in, get this nut out of here, and hopefully get this binding glued on, and then we'll come back through and work on the inlays after that. Before I can route my binding channel for my fretboard, we got to take this nut out of here. Now this nut is super glued in, so if I take a pair of pliers and try to pull it out, I'll probably end up breaking this fretboard, more than likely. So how we're going to take it out is, I take this saw here, and basically I'm just going to cut the nut down the center, whole way down till it bottoms out against the wood. And on that point you can take a pair of pliers and squeeze it together, and it'll pull it away from the wood, and it should pop right out. So we're just going to take this saw, and basically, and it is bone, so it's going to be, it isn't going to cut very easily. It's going to take a little bit. But you're going to take this saw, and basically just cut it the whole way down till it bottoms out against the wood, and then we'll pop it out of there. Okay, so I got it cut, and it just fell out now. I cut it the whole way to the bottom where it hits the wood, and the back piece just fell out. And now the front piece, if I barely push on it here, there it is. And now the nuts out, and I'll just take a file or something, get down to there and glue and clean the super glue out of there. But that's basically how easy it was. Just cut it down until it hits the bottom, and I didn't have to use a pair of pliers. Usually I use a pair of pliers and squeeze it together, but for whatever reason that one wasn't. So that's cool. So now we can go ahead and route our binding channel in. Okay, so I got my binding channel routed into my fretboard here, and I'm just going to come back through with some sandpaper and clean out these edges just to get a nice sharp edge on here to glue my binding onto. So we got our body done. Our body's sitting here. We're going to let it sit overnight, and then we'll take this tape off in the morning, and then it's basically ready for sanding down and getting ready to put primer on it. So another thing we got to do is the dots here. I haven't drilled them out yet, and we're going to drill these dots out. I'll get them drilled out, and I'll get my inlays put into the fretboard. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the inlays in the fretboard, and then get the fretboard completely cleaned up, and then we'll come back through and glue our binding on. It'll be the last thing we do, and then this will be ready to go.